Everybody. Yes, what the experience Saudi Arabia has been. First, all the gods of Egypt that we had to face. I think Natalia and myself has seen enough ruins, enough temples to last us for this lifetime and the 10 to come if there was 10. But also, she didn't really mention what we did what we went through in Egypt. But also the favor of Abba Father that we absolutely had, because we were sent into specific temples to deal with specific things. And they've also got all their security guards all over the show. And at every temple that we went into, the security guard approached us and said, listen, you want to pray? Come with me. And then they will take us into the very little room of that god, like Isis or like Ra, or all those gods that you dealt with. So we were given the free opportunity to go in and go pray inside at all of those temples. I don't know, there was a lot of people coming in and a lot of people walking, but none of them the security guards approached to take in. We just prayed every day and said, Abba, just guide our footsteps as we walk. And for some of the people that followed us on the group, you would understand that it was really emotionally, spiritually, physically. It was a very, very tiring time that we went through. We didn't get a lot of sleep. We would be up very early in the morning. We would get back home very late. Sometimes we didn't even have time to eat, or we would have snacks. We took a few packets of cashew nuts and things like that, some protein bars with, and that was what we would be living off. But we knew every place we had to get to the mission. We had to go do the things that Abba asked us to do. And yes, the mountain, for those that don't know, I was born with asthma, so I'm asthmatic. So every time I see a hill, that's the thing that goes through the mind. It's always the asthma pump that's there, because you climb a few meters, then the chest will close up and you have to use the pump. I can tell you on this mountain, that's the inclination of just short of a kilometer. So it inclines to the top, just short of a kilometer. Not once did my chest close up. Not once did I have to use a pump. Not once did it even cross my mind. I think when we both started to climb, our backpacks were so heavy, because like Natalia said, we had to have all that water with us. Your jacket was in there. I was carrying the flags. You have to have snacks. We started to climb that mountain. We didn't even have anything to eat. We just wanted to start to climb the mountain. So, and we made food, but we left it in the car for when we come down. In our backpacks we had 2 boiled eggs each, 2 bananas and 2 protein bars. That was it, that we went up with. And we started to climb, and like Natalia said, at that stage when we split up, I said to afterwards, I said that was wrong, we should never have split up. But anyway, it happened. And we started to climb, and you must understand, it's not a mountain that you climb, you go on a hiking trail, where it's some places you go uphill, then it gets leveled, you walk a bit, then you go downhill, then you go uphill. You go uphill all the time. And it's not that there's a path. There's no path. So, because when we inquired, I said, listen, how do we know which way to go? So I actually got hold of a guy on Facebook. He's a biblical archaeologist that did a lot of work with the Exodus things and Sinai. He's climbed it a few times. And I actually got hold of him, and the guy was actually so nice. His name is Andrew Jones. You can actually go look him up. He's got a YouTube channel. And he started to give me a lot of information, and he sent me drone pictures of the mountain, and he highlighted paths on the mountain that you can take. And I said to him, Andrew, but how do we know where to go? He just said, listen, there's a donkey trail, there's some rocks that they pack on top of each other, just follow the trail. But understand, there's more than one way to get up that mountain. We looked for rocks. You would see a few rocks, and then all of a sudden there's no rocks. Then you walk again, you might find donkey droppings, then you find some rocks, then the rocks disappear again. So you never really know, are you on the right path or not? In your mind, in my mind, get to the top of a mountain. That was it. And in my mind was, listen, I can't go sit and not do it, because Natalia needs to get up there, so I need to do it. And we did discuss it beforehand to say, listen, if I slow you down because we only got so much time, keep on climbing. We will meet up somewhere again, but don't wait for me. And you know what? that wasn't the case. I mean, yes, we climbed a little bit. She would climb a little bit, maybe in front of me. Other times I was in front of her, and we basically climbed together. And the thing is, when we went up that ravine, I was still by myself. She was still trailing because of her detour that she took. And I was climbing up this ravine, and it was extremely steep, the ravine. Now, I'm not the tallest person either. I'm 1.67 meters. It's in feet. It's 5 foot 4 inches. I'm not tall. And now you got this heavy backpack. But I must say, the concentration was so much on climbing that mountain, I didn't even feel the weight of that backpack on my back. Neither did she. And I mean, she still had a lot of extra kilos on her back. Now, even for me, she knows when we just do normal hiking, she always takes the bag, because even that extra weight on my back will just close up my lungs immediately. But let me tell you, I started to climb. Now, I mean, I've watched a lot of movies, this cliffhanger and things like that, and I must say that's really how I felt. Because some of those rocks in the ravine where I climbed up would literally be rocks that's like 90 degrees vertical, and there might be a ledge of 1 to 1.5 centimeters. So you have to put your foot on the left rock, and you have to put the foot on the right rock, and somewhere your hands are feeling if there's a little place where your fingers can go in, where you can pull yourself up. It was really that steep. And in some places you get to, there's little trees growing, so you have to try to get around the tree with the little branches. I mean, the ravine that we climbed was maybe 1.5 meters wide. And then it was these bushes with these thorns. They were everywhere. So I was climbing. Eventually I said to Natalia, no man, I had a new jean that a mother even made smaller for me. And by the time halfway the mountain, I said, no, I think I've lost weight already, because this jean just wants to fall down now already. And we had brand new hiking shoes. Well, my shoes can tell a story, because if you see how they look now, they even the front part, there's even like there's holes in there because of the difficulty of climbing that mountain. All I can say, thank you, Abba Father, that we had garden gloves that we work in the garden with, because we didn't even want to spend, because I mean, gloves to climb with is expensive. I mean, Manita still gave Natalia a set of gloves. I had gloves that I don't know, I've used for 2 years working in the garden. We gave it a good wash, and it looked awesome. That's the gloves that we use. We both had 2 poles, that hiking sticks, just to help. And on that ravine climbing up, you would throw the poles, and then you would climb a little bit. Then you would throw the poles, you would climb a little bit. And there was one specific place that I got to, and there was a piece of a rock that was sticking out. I just couldn't find the ledge to put my feet on to climb up. I tried, I think it was about 4 times. I couldn't. I was too short. I couldn't even lift my bum up, for that matter. And that was my crying time. I just stood there and I started to cry. I said, Abba, there's no way I can get up here, but I have to. There's no other way. There's no other way I can go down again to try to find another route. And you know what, Abba just gave me, he says, listen, just turn around. Instead of trying to do it with the front part, turn around, put your feet on this rock, put your foot on that rock, and just start to push yourself up. And by the time Natalia phoned me, I was in a bit of an awkward position. I was sort of hanging on a rock there with my feet dangling in the air. But you know what, I got up. That was the first one. Then I got to a second part, was the same story. But and eventually when we spoke on the phone, I said, no, Natalia, you know what, I think it's about 50 meters up, then I will be by the plateau, where, you know, the 70 elders plateau. It looks like that. You know, that's so deceiving of this mountain. Because you look like you're close to the top, and when you get there, it just carries on. It doesn't stop. It carries on. And then you have to get new energy. You have to build up yourself again to carry on. And eventually when Natalia met up with me again, then we started to climb from there. You know, and it's like she says, you know what, we are the 2 most inexperienced people that will climb a mountain like this. Like I said, it's not hiking, it's climbing, permanently climbing. I mean, up till today, my 2 big toes is still numb. I don't have life back in my big toes because of coming down that mountain. And we're full of bruises and scratches, and that thorns, it goes right through your pants, it scratches you. But thank the Father we had the gloves, because the rock, it's not a smooth rock. And if we didn't have that gloves, we would have had raw hands. But anyway, so we climbed, and one part, just before we got to the plateau there, we had to go around the mountain on the one side. And you know what? If you look down, it's a cliff that goes straight down to the bottom. So you have to be sure-footed. And then your bag, sometimes you climb, the thing comes over your head because it's a heavy thing. And you have to try to push it back. I mean, there was one stage we sat down. I had a cap. I took my cap and I had a sweatband. And I took my sweatband and I squeezed it, and it was still hot. The sweat, it looked like a tap that was opened. I mean, although the weather for the day was -3, maximum 5, you know, with the climb in the sun, I mean, we got sunburned, and it was actually hot climbing. And when we got to the plateau, because that was the first thing you put in your mind, just get to the plateau, just get to the plateau. You know, and like I said, not once did it cross my mind to give up. Because even beforehand, I said to Natalia, you know what, I want to get to the top. I even said to her, may the Father grant us that we get up every morning early to go walk every day our 7 kilometers there on the farm. May the Father grant us the grace to be able to get to the top. And because of the mission that we had. And, you know, and then Natalia would get to a place and she's crying. I said, Natalia, don't worry, it's going to be okay. We can do it. You know what? Let's just carry on. And the plateau is actually quite big. It's a walk that you walk, and then you have to start climbing the peak of Mount Sinai. And then I'm looking for places that's a little bit easier to climb. And Natalia, she went up ahead also, and we're climbing. And then I come around the corner, and then she stand there, and I see it's still not the end. I remember one stage I said to Natalia, you can't be serious. You can't be serious that we must still climb. But you know what? We had to climb. I had the flags. I had to get to the top. And it's such a pity that we didn't have much more time there at the top, because you're literally on top of the world. You can see everywhere. And you know what? Also, we had a discussion, and I mean, even from the top there, in the distance, you can see right where the golden calf is.
Yeah.
And if everything was dark and these people were carrying on, Moses would have heard, because the echo there is phenomenal. It's amazing, the echoing. And you can hear, you would be able to see the fires, because from there, from the top, you can see exactly where they would have camped. You would see the northern route that they came through from the Dead Sea. You would see all those things. And then, but like Natalia said, then starting to go down. I mean, in my mind is let's just get through the ravine. If we can get through the ravine, it's going to be a little bit easier, because now the ravine, understand, it's very steep that you have to go down. And again, it's the little trees that hooks you, and the little grass that the foot wants to slip, and it's the thorns. And eventually we stood there at the top, and we had to make a decision. Do we go back the same route we came, or what are we going to do? And both of us decided, say, listen, it's more important to get off the mountain while there's still daylight. We can find our way at the bottom. That's the least of our concern, but we have to get off, because there's so many ravines, there's so many steep places that if you do it at night, I mean, you can literally walk into a place that just drops, and you wouldn't even know it. So that was our concern. And as we went down, I mean, my foot slipped one time. I fell on my bum, and my right cheek, it hurt. It was terribly sore. And some places, like she said, we had to go down with our bums on the rocks. I mean, my jeans it's got a story to tell. They've got a few holes in it. And eventually, when we got to the bottom, and she said, listen, there's no way we can go. I said, Natalia, there must be a way. She says to me, listen, we have to climb up to find. I said, I don't have energy to climb up to go find another route. There must be a way. Let's just look. Let's just go this side. Let's look. And eventually we found the other way. And eventually, as we got down in the ravine, we started to take the flashlights out, and my flashlight not working. I mean, I put it back in my backpack. I said, okay, it's fine. At least now there's still a little bit of daylight I can see. So let's walk. And I mean, those boulders are massive white granite boulders in that ravine. It's massive. So we still had to climb over that. Yeah, and that was my crying time, because when I had to climb over that, my bum was paining so much I couldn't even put it down on a rock. But you know what? You have to. And I think, you know what, out of all of this, really, like she said, what I think for both of us, what it taught is just how small we are and how big Abba is. You know, we make all these plans, and we try to have fame and fortune, and we try to put titles to ourselves and things like that, but we are like a grain of sand against that mountain. We are nothing.
And then as we walked in the dark now it was really dark, I sent a message on the group. I said, listen, we got a little bit of a situation, just pray that Abba can lead us. One flashlight only, it's dark, we have to climb boulders, and you know what, we have to find our way. And as we were walking, I said to Natalia, you're just like Moses. She says, why? I said, you've got the flashlight, you've got one stick, and you're leading. And then she starts to cry. She says, I don't want to be Moses right now. I said, you have to. And you know what? We were able to do good teamwork there. It was, you know what? We had enough light. Then the moon came out. It wasn't full moon, but yet it was still enough for me even to see. But I've been coming down that mountain, breaking with your feet. Eventually, I think that was the worst thing, my feet. Like I said, my big toes today still, I don't even have any feeling in them as yet. Because it was just so much pressure on the feet. But one thing I've realized, you know what? One thing I realized is that, you know what? Whatever Abba asks us to do, we can do it. We can. It's really a matter of your mind to say I can or I can't. I mean, I'm a living testimony of literally the impossible. Literally the impossible. And I can never stand back again and say, Abba, I can't do this or I can't do that. This mountain will stay with me forever. Forever. I mean, like she said, eventually, I mean, even from where we climbed up to Moses' altar and we had to go find the car, that's still a very stressful walk through the mountains, through the rocks. If you take the wrong turn, you go onto another mountain range. So, you know, we would walk and I said, Natalia, there's a little path, let's follow the path. Then the path stops. Then, okay, in the moonlight, let's try to make out where do we go. And as we got to that car, I mean, it was just amazing. I mean, we had food in the car, we didn't even eat because it was just so overwhelming what we've just been through. It's like she said, then it's like a fever that hit me, but I just started crying. I think for the next half an hour, both of us, we just sitting crying, and it was just such an actually amazing feeling. And we made up our minds in that ravine. Says, listen, if it takes us 2 hours, it takes us 3 hours, doesn't matter. We will get there. You know, and I want to encourage everybody that if Abba has given you something that you must do and it looks impossible, you know what, take it one step at a time. One step at a time. Because that is, when I climbed that mountain, every step I took, especially up the mountain, it was like, I'm one step closer to the top. I'm one step closer to the top. And I know there's people that even say to Natalia, listen, you've got a mission. If Elsie can't make it, you know, you have to go to the top. But you know what, by Abba's grace, we were able to do it together. And I must also say, you know what, on the Friday, Pete took us into the desert there. He's a fellow, he's a believer, he knows a lot. And Andrew actually put me onto him. He lives in Tabuk, the place that we stayed. And with his 4x4, because you need a serious 4x4 for the Saudi desert, he took us into the desert. I mean, he picked us up 6 o'clock in the morning. We only arrived 10 o'clock that night back at the hotel. He took us through Elim, where the 12 wells are, where the 70 palm trees is. I mean, it's still there today. He took us through there. We went to, Rephidim, where the Amalekites were in war with the Israelis, with the Israelites, with the Hebrews, where Moses' arms had to be held up. And I mean, even when we went to the split rock, we look at this rock. I mean, pictures and videos will never, ever, ever tell the true story. I mean, we looked at this rock and it was on a heap of boulders, but it was high. I mean, it's like a mountain nearly that you climb, like a little mountain top that you climb. And I mean, if you see the pictures of Natalia and myself, we are like tiny against this rock. And I mean, even when they checked out this rock, even they found the water residue in that actual rock. You can see the erosion of the water coming down that rock. You know, and all these things were so tangible of just the Exodus story. And it was such a privilege for us just to be there. And although it was a lot of suffering, it was a lot of hardships. You know, and one thing that we've realized, you know what, because even with Pete, he said, you know, if you look at the mountain, it's the temple. You get the outer court, you know, where you park the car basically, you get, or not the, where Moses' altar is. Then you get the holy place where the plateau is, but then the Holy of Holies is the mountain top.
There's no back door.
You know what? We've really seen there's no back door to the Holy of Holies. If you don't climb your mountain and you don't go through your suffering and your shortcomings and your decisions that you make, and your sometimes thinking you can't make it, and your mind, if you don't work through that, you cannot go into the Holy of Holies. It is impossible. And going up the mountain is one thing, but coming down the mountain is another thing, because remember, we can't stay on top of the mountain. But one thing I've realized, you know what, the Father, a lot of times in our tests, He brings us to a mountain, and it's our decision that we're either going to go around the mountain to find the shortcut, or we're going to face the mountain and we're going to climb it, and we're going to do what we need to do. And then I just want to end off by, Abba was so faithful, because then we flew back from Tabuk, from Saudi, back to Egypt, and I must say the Saudi people is amazing people, friendly people. Even the customs, we had smiles from the time we arrived till the time we left. We were a 19-hour layover in Egypt, and because of that, Egypt provides a hotel. I mean, they put us up in a 5-star hotel. They gave us 3 meals for the day. And you know what was so amazing? They put us in this one hotel called Le Passage, which means the way. So that was just a beautiful, beautiful way for us to end it off. I must say, you know what was amazing is we climbed the mountain on Sunday. On Monday, not our calves, nothing was stiff. It was only our top legs that was stiff because of the climb. Look, the steps and downhill was a little bit of a mission. I mean, we battled with steps climbing. But other than that, you know what, the body survived. I mean, Saturday, going back to the hotel, climbing into bed, your body was so sore that it was actually, it was the Sunday, it was so difficult even to fall asleep because the body was so sore. But on Monday again, it was like, hey, it's only the top legs that's sore. Nothing else was sore. So I really thank Abba for what He's done and the experience. And I pray for each one of you that you will be able to face your mountain, and you will be able to overcome whatever comes in your path. I know that nothing that ever comes in my path that I can overcome this. I can. It's even impossible. I can overcome it, because what we faced was the impossible. It was really the impossible. I mean, here we are, both two women alone. It's dark. I mean, I still looked up at the stars. I still had time for that. I said to Natalie, look how beautiful the stars are. But you know what? Experience that nobody can take away from me ever again. And if I get into a situation where I really need to trust Abba for the impossible, I've been there, I've done that. And I know, you know what? I know. And it's not about being religious, like quoting scriptures for this or that. Sometimes, you know what? Like we slipped, we did. But we didn't get hurt, seriously. We didn't. And we got out of there. Although Natalia wanted to camp there twice, I said to her, no, there's no way. We must get off this mountain. And I just want to encourage everybody, face your mountain, climb your mountain, do whatever it takes to get close to Abba, and it will change your life. Amen.
Amen. You know, I just want to say in closing that we've got to understand something. That, you know what, a lot of us really, we want the glitz and the glamour with the Father. We want to be able to go to heaven and have a heavenly experience. But what we do not want is the dying in our flesh. And I want to close off by reading something today. And Elsie sent me a little saying yesterday, and this is just so true. And I just want to close off with this saying. Now listen to what it says. When Yah uses someone greatly, now listen carefully, because this is what we've got to understand. When Yah uses someone greatly, He normally pulls them out of their family, seek a friendly church, and lukewarm friends. He isolates them. He tests them. They go through much suffering, persecution, and trials until they are dead to the opinion of others and dead to themselves. It is the baptism of fire. You must walk it alone to be prepared for the Master's use. Most churches will not tolerate you. Most professing will hate you. And the world will mock you. So that is basically what we would have to undergo. But you see, everybody wants the airy-fairy glitter and glam of the holy fire. But the holy fire is a real dying in the flesh, where the Father is going to get us to really, really, really have to die in our flesh. So, at this hotel of ours, La Passage, what was so amazing was, right at the entrance of the hotel called La Passage, Passage even in Portuguese and in French, it's in French, La Passage. Passage means passage, but it's not just passage, it actually means the way. We are called the people of the way. And right at the entrance they had a cake, a wedding cake. And when I saw this wedding cake, the Father said, the way has been opened for the marriage supper of the Lamb. But for the marriage supper of the Lamb, it's going to cost us all a price. Now, one thing that I can say to you, and I end off with this. When you have faced your mountain, and when you have gone through facing your fears, facing your difficulties, going through the trials and the tests that the Father's put before you, there's nothing that you're going to have to face ahead of you. Beloveds, one thing that I know for definite. I know that facing this mountain and going through all that we've been through, there's definitely a reason for all of this in the days ahead. Because in the days ahead, He might not be there. We might be quoting scripture and He's not going to answer. We might be praying for flashlight, but it's not going to come. We might be doing all these things and He doesn't really answer a prayer because He's expecting us to be overcomers. But in the midst of all of that, will we know that we know that we know that He's with us, irrespective of what goes on around us. So that is the bottom line. Okay.
I just want to say one more thing. We on the Shabbat last week we were there at the golden altar, and it was so evident after everything that these people went through, the miracles that Abba did, that they still had a need to serve foreign gods. Because at the golden altar, still today, there's drawings of the Egyptian goddess Hathor. And if you really go look at it, Hathor, it was all about fertility, all about things, but it was also about prosperity. And if I look at the church today, what have they based their whole theology on? It's about prosperity. And the warning comes to say that in our lives, it's so easy to make an idol out of something. And that idol will keep you away from the presence of the Father. It's easy to have clothes, to have a car, to have a house, to have a couch, to just have whatever and make that an idol. Where Abba sometimes comes and He says, listen, get rid of these idols in your life, because a lot of times we want to gather, and how much is enough? Is one car, if one car is not enough, is it 2 cars? Is it 3 cars that you have to have? If a 2-bedroom house is not enough, do we have to have a 6-bedroom house? If 4 pairs of clothes is not enough, do we have to have 10 pairs of clothes? And it's little things like this sometimes that we don't realize that is idols. Because you know what? There's brothers and sisters out there that need that 10th pair of clothes in your cupboard more than what you need it. There's brothers and sisters out there that might need a vehicle that you sit with, that you park in a garage and you never drive it. We have to get to that place where He is most the thing that we want in our lives above anything. That He needs to be the most important thing in our life, because you know what? If not, He's going to take that idol and use it in your life for destruction. So we have to get back to that place and say, Abba, I want to get to the Holy of Holies. I want to dwell with You. But strip me, like Natalia said, what she was reading now is, Father, strip me. Make me dead to these worldly things. Because climbing that mountain, these worldly things didn't matter. Nothing mattered to you. Your focus was on going up that mountain to get face to face with the Father. That is what it was about. And may we all get to that place where we hunger and thirst for Him and not for things. Because at the end of the day, it's only things. Don't let things keep you out of the kingdom. Don't let things bog you down. And don't let that become a god like what the Israelites then eventually built their own golden calf, because that is what they wanted. They wanted an idol. They wanted those things because that's what they were used to. Let's break free from what we were used to and walk in that what Abba has called us to do.
Amen. Praise Abba Yahuwah. So this is our testimony. May Abba Yahuwah bless you. Shalom, shalom.